friends, and welcome back to Market Shares. I'm your host, Tony Blodgett, and today I have back with me Dan Keller. Dan, it's been a while since you did an episode of Market Shares with me, so I'm looking forward to picking your brain. And I think today is going to be a little view inside of the business of DK, but really more than that, like loan officers can take a lot away from what you're doing right now. So I think we'll give some tactical ideas in this episode that everyone can walk away, and probably even some tips for real estate agents, I would imagine, as we go along. As we were getting ready to come up here and record this episode, Dan was busy downstairs at the other end of the building hosting a real estate agent event and constantly bringing people into the office, hosting events, getting in front of groups of real estate agents. So Dan, first of all, thanks for coming on and doing this episode. And second, let's just kick off with that. Like, what were you doing down there with a bunch of real estate agents? What kind of events have you been putting on? How's that working for your business right now?
Yeah. So the lunch and learn that I just held down there, I went out and got 24 Dick's Drive-In burgers, right? They just opened a Dick's Drive-In in Everett. So we went and got some fresh burgers. I'm doing a 4-part series leading up to leading into the Thanksgiving holidays on warm leads will fix all your problems. I mean, it's true in mortgage, right? I think it's true in mortgage. It's true in real estate. So I had 17 RSVPs, a dozen showed up, and we just talked for an hour. Like, number one, right now, how to go deeper with your database. So that was part 1 of our 4-part series. Part 4 will be vision and business planning for 2026. So we're going to lead into that. But what the series is designed for is twofold: to expose gaps, because I'm only valuable if there's a gap in your business. And everyone's got a good lender, right? But then what if a lender or a business partner like us could expose a gap in their particular business? And so what we found today was, show of hands, went around the room, not one of them are sending direct mail to their clients. Number 2, not one of them are doing the A through Z. We call your database twice a year. So there's 52 weeks in a year. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. So if you attached a letter to a week, you're going to call your database. You're going to call each person in your database twice a year. Not one person's doing that. And then not one person is doing this was crazy, an annual real estate and home equity review. So I just trained on, it was rightfully fit because not one of them are doing each of those 3. So that's what we trained on for an hour, showed them how to do that. And then I'm giving them deliverables to do that.
All right. So if I'm a loan officer out there, I'm like, okay, that's a brilliant strategy. Dan's a very polished, speaker, top producer, but let's back up a little bit. So first of all, where did the idea for this series come from? What was your outreach look like in order to fill that room with people? And what gives you the confidence that you have the answers to the challenges that they have in their business?
So do I have the answers? I would say I do, because I'm working on this right now in my business. So the question before that is like, what gave you the idea to do something like this? So I'm coached professionally. It's funny. It's Tuesday, and I know it's your podcast day too, but it's also my mentor, Rick Ruby. So I was on his Street Smart Millionaire podcast this morning getting, I say interviewed, but drilled by Rick on his, and now I'm getting interviewed on yours. And so being coached and being held accountable to do events, 1 event a month for real estate agents, financial planners, or your database. So it just rotates. This one's for real estate agents. National Association of Realtors will tell you 9 out of 10 real estate agents are not in relationship with their database. So I'm a numbers guy, and I was right. All 12 agents, 13 agents that were there, not one of them are doing those 3 things, which is going deeper with your database. So topic came from being coached and being held accountable. And then the content is stuff that we as loan officers should be doing. I'm guilty. I don't do it to a T. That's why I'm coached. So I'm getting better at that. But we just talked about it before the podcast of, if we're not careful, we're going to lose our database, our clients, to someone that's going to take better care of our database, which is just, it could be someone from a call center. It could be a bot. It could be a direct mail piece that we're not doing, someone else is doing. And so they bite.
Well, and I also know that you're pretty religious about making your calls to realtors on Monday.
Yep.
And typically the goal of those calls is, one of the goals is to invite them to an event. And, I see your coaching go out, and you tell loan officers all the time, like, be reaching out to your realtors. And when I see that one, I'm like, well, invite them to an event. Well, that requires you to actually plan events then at some point.
Yeah.
So obviously you're doing that, which makes then your calls that you're making a whole lot easier. And I'm assuming that's how you filled the room, was since you had already put on the calendar that you were going to do this 4-part series. Now, when you reach out to your realtors, you have something to invite them to.
Right. So last Tuesday, an email went out to my realtors about today's event. Monday was yesterday. My calls to the realtors was, hey, I don't know if you saw, just confirming that you saw my email, my invite. I've got 12 spots, 7 are filled. I've got 5 left for my event tomorrow. It's part 1 of a 4-part series on going deeper with your database. By the way, the series is called Warm Leads Will Solve All Your Problems in Your Business right now. And so from yesterday to today, we had 9 more RSVPs. So of course, some didn't show, some got sick, whatever, but I had it filled. And so, Dick's Burgers, 24 burgers at whatever, $3 or so a pop. Do the math on that. I was about $115 all in on food. We got a beautiful office here, and we just did a 1-hour event. And here's the killer thing. I don't know if we'll get to this, but I'm just going to jump to this. Always have a note sheet. It's 1 page. It's got 3 different segments on it. This one I had 4 different questions. How many people are in your database? Out of 7 tactics, which 7 of these are you currently implementing? And I had a -7. How many units did you close in 2024? How many do you want to close in 2026? And what were your top 2 takeaways? And then down at the bottom was a QR code. I need your help. That went to my Google business page. If you found this valuable today as a mortgage lender, just give me a review. I bought you lunch. You owe me, right? Number 2, there was 2 lines that said, I need your help. I need an introduction to 2 real estate agents in your office that need to come to events like this. So I got over 26 warm referrals that I get to follow up with this week. So that will be my calls tomorrow, and then I'll add them to my Monday call list.
Right. So the reason I'm drilling so deep on this is because the idea of making calls to 40 realtors on a Monday sounds daunting to most loan officers. Mm-hmm. And the things that you ask them to talk about on those calls require a little bit of preparation. But as you can see here, is that by doing a little bit of the preparation up front, and look, you could go to ChatGPT and probably say, I want to do a 4-part series for real estate agents. I want to focus on these areas. Write me the curriculum, write me some handouts. I mean, you could literally have all this done pretty easily in today's day and age. And I just see your coaching and your direction to people. And I think about it from the perspective of a loan officer who we know a lot of them are not doing those things. And it's like, I want to break it down with your help to be like, it's not that difficult to do if you do the preliminary steps that set up those phone calls. I mean, how much easier is it to make a phone call to a real estate agent when you know that I'm going to be offering them an invite to an event that's going to be totally cool. They're going to get a meal. Yeah. Like not that they all say yes, but it's sure a lot easier call than, oh, hey, I'm Dan, I'm your local lender. Yeah. I want to do business with you. I mean, that's an awkward call. And I understand why loan officers don't always want to make that call, but you're making it easier to make those calls. And then by doing so, you're getting way more calls into the real estate community than most loan officers are.
And then when you do classes like this or similar to this, you're exposing gaps in their business. And again, with a client, with a borrower, for example, if you can't find pain or expose a gap in that initial call, then your competition is the internet. So your competition is an online lender, a Quicken, an ad, right? And so we have to be forward in our conversations with clients and with realtors about exposing some pains or some gaps in their business. And then when you find it, it's not rocket science. You don't have to have the answers. That's why I'm professionally coached, because the coaching program I'm in helps me find the answers to their gaps or their issues. Most of your real estate agents' problems are problems that we have. So if we can get better at them, and that's what I said down there, we're in this together. I'm not coaching you. Like, I coached some tactics from an agent in Texas that closes 200 units a year, 68 million a year in total volume. And this is how he runs it in his business. We're in the same coaching program. So we shared that. And so I'm not going to help write you a newsletter. Go write a newsletter, right? Stuff like that. So the fact that you're not doing that, the fact that you're not doing an annual review, the fact that you're not using an all about you form in your business is exposing gaps in your business. And it's up to guys like us to expose them and then provide resources.
Yeah.
That's it.
So let's talk about database for a minute. And I'm talking about loan officer database. So let's kind of pivot a little bit away from the real estate strategies, which were brilliant, by the way. I hope everyone got some takeaways from that. And I would challenge everyone to do what Dan just did. Before the end of the year, set up I love that. A 4-part training series. Make the last one really focused on goal setting and business planning for 2026, which is going to give you an opportunity to follow up with them about the goals that you set together while they were in the room. And anyway, that would be a great way to end this year strong. But let's talk about database, because one of the things that we've been talking about on this podcast, Dan, and I believe that you're doing this, is we all know that interest rates are, they've come down. First of all, let's just admit they have improved from where they were. There's no question about that. Now, how much are they going to improve and how quickly are they going to do it? We don't know, but we did just have a small window before the Fed rate cut to get some refinances in. We saw a big surge in refinance business. The MBA announced that over 60% of mortgage applications last week were refinance transactions. I think a lot of those are cash out refinances, but there's some rate and terms that are making sense for people right now as well, depending on when they got their mortgage. But bottom line is this, is that every servicer out there is clamoring to get these refinances once the opportunities present themselves. Every call center out there is banking on an uptick in refinance business to capitalize on that. I mean, point is there's never been more competition for this pent up demand that we know is there for refinances and people to lower their mortgage expense and also consolidate debt. But the key is that you're never going to find someone at the exact right time that they're ready. But what you can do is you can plant seeds with them all along the way and let them know, look, you're going to have your servicer reach out to you. You're going to have somebody, reach out to you about interest rates. And I want to make sure that I'm the person you come to first, because I've already looked at your situation and I'm prepared to help you. But now probably isn't the right time unless there's something going on in your life that I'm not aware of.
Yep.
And how would you know that without making those calls? So let's talk about that strategy. I'm sure you're making those calls. What do they sound like? How often are you doing them? Like, break this down for us.
Mm-hmm. So it starts at closing when you do a pre-closing call. And they're not thinking of this because I can tell you from experience, you're going to get the text or the phone call. But it starts at your pre-funding review call, letting them know that the day that we fund your mortgage, you buy a new home, your public records now. And there's dirty parts of our industry that are going to be exposed. And that's the securities industry, the insurance industries, the mortgage industries. You're going to start getting direct mail. So it's going to start in the mortgage industry and the insurance industries. You're going to get some direct mail that's going to pose that it's a letter from us. It's not. So if you get something that's weird, just take a picture of it and text it to me. So I start with that. That's pre-closing. When we do a 1 week post-closing call or follow-up, we're going to repeat that you're going to continue to get solicitations. It has nothing to do with us. That's accounting and state.
And Dan, just to clarify, you're talking about the people that are offering life insurance, that if you die, we pay off your mortgage, the biweekly mortgage payments, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and our clients are getting hit with refinance information within the first month or two now from other lenders. And their letters going, hey, we can get you an X number, percent interest rate. And it looks like, because it says New American Funding on it, but then down in the fine print it says this is not,
right.
So
and one of the keys to letting people know about that is that it adds credibility. When they get the stuff in the mail, they go, oh yeah, Dan warned us about this, you know. And if they do have a question about it or if this is legit, like they're going to call you. And so whether or not they call you or not, it's just you've added some credibility to who you are by letting them know what's going to happen. And then when it does happen, they go, oh yeah, Dan told us about that.
So when they get the other mail pieces that show a crazy low interest rate with 4 points, oh yeah, Dan mentioned that. So we do bring that up. So that's the 1 week post close. Staying in touch with them is important too. So doing the 30-day and the 60-day, the birthday, the 6 month, and then the 1 year. And what we're doing and what I'm doing in between that is I've been doing this since 2017. It's called Making Sense of Your Market. It's a video like you do a podcast every Tuesday. I do a video every Friday. It's a 3-minute video, and it's our interest rates up or down week over week. Something in the news right now, it's the shutdown, the government shutdown. I called it. I got that information out before it shut down. I said, this is my 5th one. There's no news here that we're still going to process and fund loans. It's all good. The feedback that I've received on that is huge because I'll go back to 2013. I was newer in the mortgage industry. Obama was the president. There was a shutdown. I was freaking out based off of what I was seeing and reading in the news and kind of seeing on social media. Then I lived through it. And then the mortgage industry has evolved since then. So it's not really going to affect our industries, but they don't know that, right? So being ahead of that, it's more proof that Dan knows what he's talking about, right? So they trust you a little bit more. But you guys, the homework assignment that I had probably 4 weeks ago, it was identify anyone in your database that has a 6.875% interest rate or higher. Put them on a separate list and call every single one of them, and then email every single one of them. And then this is what we've done. We find out their current interest rate. We find out so their current situation, current market rates, where we're at. And then based off of their goals, where do we need to be to lock you in? Barry Abib's talked about this. There was 4 or 5 different opportunities in the last 3 years to refinance people. But on average, they lasted 2.8 days. That's not enough time for me to take an app, get it uploaded, and get it locked, right? We're playing from behind. And so this time, let's be a little bit more intelligent about it. Let's be a little bit more organized. And that's what I'm sharing with clients. And then we've got news in front of us. We have an October and a December Fed meeting. Both of them, the October one, there's predicted to lower the Fed rate. That indirectly could impact mortgage rates. So let's take a look at how the government shut down the October Fed rate meeting. Let's just be prepared. So those are the conversations I'm having. But it's that third column, that strike rate, whether it's a term reduction, a rate reduction, a cash out. If it's not urgent, let's plan. When the market gets to where it needs to be, then we'll lock you in.
So what I heard you first say is that you do a consult with your borrowers at closing, you do a 1-week review, and it sounded to me like you're saying you're reaching out to your client for more additional, so 5 points of contact in the first year that they've closed their mortgage with you.
Yeah.
Like, you guys, like, who's doing that? Like, are you doing that in your business? Because now when Dan breaks out a separate list of everyone at 6 7/8 or higher and decides he's going to check in with those people and set a strike rate and check in on their deal and be ready for the next dip. We've talked about this so many times. These dips are fleeting, but they will be coming, and you can capitalize on them. But when he reaches out, like, it's not like it's the first time they've heard from him. Like, this is now a warm call. There's a relationship during the loan process, which most of us are probably pretty good at. Mm-hmm. But Dan has already established a relationship post-closing that they're now used to hearing from him. And so when he reaches out, it's not a surprise. And so if you're not doing this in your business, it's markets like this where that really shows itself, because the guys like Dan who have constantly stayed in touch with their clients are going to be able to capitalize very quickly on the opportunities in the market. And everyone else is going to be a little embarrassed to reach out to their clients. They have not talked to them since they closed the loan. Yeah. They're going to be doing a little bit of research to see if maybe the guy already refinanced with someone else. Before I call them, I don't want to be embarrassed. Like, Dan doesn't worry about any of those things, because if they refinance without calling him, he's going to say something like, like, you're kidding me, right? Like, we talked about this, in a professional way, but he's not going to be afraid of that sort of a conversation. And Dan, you were just sharing with me like a situation where a client reached out to you because what was the deal you were saying about the bot that the bot reached out to him?
Got an email over the weekend. On Saturday, it was either Friday or Saturday, a client of mine that we just closed this last year got a call, and they called him back. You guys, it was a bot from, I can say the company, right?
They're probably not going to sue us.
Okay. United Wholesale Mortgage. So it's a broker, and it was from them. I have the actual email from the client going, this is who it was. Well, I Googled it, and it literally says, when I Googled the name and the company, it said bot, like a bot with this is not a human being with that company. And so when I sent that back to them and called them, they're like, wow. And I said, remember, this is what you're going to get. Like, so you can do business with a bot that could potentially hand you off to a human, which that's what it's going to do. But guys, this is a reality of what, if you're not staying in touch with your clients, if you're not prepping them on this, like this is a reality. I said this 2 years ago and everyone was waiting for a refinance boom and we were going to cash in like we did in 2020. I said, no, this refi boom is going to be the toughest economy, the toughest market that we've ever seen. It won't be easy because you're going to have technology jump in just like I experienced. And I just shared that at the Lunch and Learn. I was like, now more than ever, you guys have to be. If you think that this is just happening in insurance and mortgage, you're crazy. This is happening in real estate and all industries moving forward. So, because of the calls, because of the connection, there was credibility there. I sent it back to them. We're like, holy crud. Okay, well, what should we do? Should we stay course? I was like, yeah, stay course. By the way, the fine print, you guys, lower interest rate, much lower than I've given them in a report. The fine print that they got sent to them via email, 4 discount points to get the rate that person said where they could save them $400 a month. The average consumer is going to bite. They're going to go down the road with this company. They may not pay attention to the 4 points because it's rolled into the loan. They're just focused on the rate. And when I shared that with them, they're like, holy crud. Yeah, no. Like, yeah, we're in good hands.
The moral of the story is Dan's client got a call from a bot and it generated a lead for Dan from his database. Like that happens through intention, through the relationship. So I don't want to hammer this too much, you guys. Those are really the 2 things I wanted to have Dan speak about on this episode. But as you can see, if you're struggling with building relationships with real estate agents, either ones you know or ones you want to know, Dan gave you, I think, a rock solid strategy in order to turn that around, and you can do it before the end of the year. And if you're worried about how you're going to capitalize on the refinance opportunities, the fleeting refinance opportunities, the little dips that we are going to see as this market rolls through, I think that we gave you some very tactical things that you could be doing. And look, maybe you didn't call your clients, 5 times in the first year they closed, but you know what? You could start now. Start now when there isn't a need to refinance today. Now, what you're going to find if you make those calls is there are some needs because 60% of current transactions are refinances. That tells me that people are dying to consolidate their debt. So you will find some opportunities just simply by making those calls, but I would challenge you to just make calls with no intent on finding a refinance, but on planting the seed of what's going to be coming. And then just like Dan did, when they do get a solicitation that sounds interesting to them, hopefully they're going to reach out to you, or they won't be surprised when you reach out when the time is right to save them money. Real quick, Dan, before we jump off this, I think you had told me that for your clients that you talk to, you are doing like a total cost analysis through Mortgage Coach, showing them here's your current mortgage, here's your, if you were to refinance today, and then, what I think is the strike rate where you should definitely refinance. Is that something you're sending to every client? And
then there's one last column because I'm going to learn, guys, we got to learn from 2020, 2021. You know how many clients I've talked to doing annual reviews that have a 2.83% rate that are like, holy crud. If I would have taken you up on that 1.9, that 1.875 15 year, I'd be like 10 years left and I'd own my home free and clear. So you're either investing in the stock market and you're taking that approach and then having the lowest monthly mortgage payment because you're putting all your money into the markets, or you're the opposite where I don't care how you arrive at it, just make sure your money's working for you. So I learned the hard way. I should have been more pressing, going, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to get a 1.719 15-year fixed, right? I should have been more pressing on that. I wasn't. I just kind of refinance people, reset their 30 or put them into a 25. This time around, it's just in the report. It's an auto column that has term reduction, 15-year, and it just shows them the actual number.
Got it. Okay. So you're showing them current mortgage, refinance today, strike rate, like optimum refinance opportunity, and then a 15-year.
Then a term, 15-year.
Yeah. So you guys, what current homeowner wouldn't at least value that sort of a report, you know, from you. At least they would know, like, okay, right now I can't really save any money, but I know when I can, and I'll be ready when the time comes. You guys, you got to be doing this with your database today. You're already behind the 8 ball if you're not doing this already. So, Dan, look, man, I know you're super busy. I appreciate you jumping in the studio and recording this with me. It's always good to have you in here. Dan, I know that you have a Facebook group. If people want to connect with some of the coaching stuff that you're doing, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah. So every day, every morning on Instagram, I do a daily rate update. You know, it's not a quote, it's a range. It's from full disclosure. It's from Optimal Blue. You know, it's where rates are getting locked. So I always post that. Our rates up or down day over day. And then I do have a private group called Rise MLO. If you look at that on Facebook, but yeah, reach out if you have any questions. If you're listening to this and you're in the area, we're growing our branch. We got an Everett location. It's the Dave Savage was up here a couple weeks ago. And it's like, I want you to see my office. Like, this is the modern mortgage office in the Pacific Northwest. So events, it's set up for events. It's set up for agents to pop in, loan officers on the go, beautiful conference room. So if you're up here in the Pacific Northwest and you want to talk about growing your business, I am growth orientated personally. And when loan officers want to grow their business, they come here, work with us.
Right on. Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Thank you guys for tuning in. As Dan said, I usually record on Tuesdays a lot, but these come out every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if you don't want to miss one of these episodes, subscribe to the channel and make sure you let someone know. Share this episode with another loan officer in your branch because I promise you there are takeaways that are going to make people money if they just do what Dan talked about in this episode. Until next time, take care.